Hi, hey, hello, this is the Triple D Score.
Daddy-daughter discussion. I'm Tyron.
I'm Giselle. This is going to be a bit of a different podcast. This is an oral history project for my dual credit history class. This assignment is to interview a person, you,
Mm-hmm.
on a personal experience or memory over an important U.S. history event, that being the Rwandan Genocide.
Mm-hmm.
Though this genocide is international, it's America was still involved, so I feel
Mm-hmm.
that we should talk about this. This is U.S. history. This is our history,
Mm-hmm.
and it should be discussed. But before we get into any of that, how was your week?
I had a blacktastic week. I had a great week. Hey, I hope your teacher doesn't get offended by things I'm saying, but if so, hey,
Oh well.
well, right. But I had a great week. I've been subbing, so very I've been learning a lot about our education system. Some things that validated some feelings I had, and some things, some good and bad. So all in all, I had a great week. What about yourself?
I had a not a good week, but a busy week.
Okay.
Exams are coming up, and I'm just in studying. I've been studying this whole time,
Mm.
so
Okay.
gosh,
Okay.
it's been
So
stressful.
so it's one of those.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I got you. I got you. But you know, I was very when you proposed this assignment to me. I was like, yeah, you want to interview me and on something that I guess the criteria is that person that you interview had to actually went through it, right? So I was excited, and honestly, I've never talked to anybody about this. Not saying it was something that's so detrimental that it stumped me, but I just never honestly talked to anybody. So I found it interesting that you chose that particular, or did I choose it?
You chose
I
it.
chose it.
I don't want to force your hand on anything.
But I thought it'd be interesting because I want you um, to understand more and more about me, and then you know how I am about history. To know your history, I won't use what I usually say. I just say to know your history, erase the mystery. And sometimes when our history is very important, it's not not the sensationalism of the history, but rather some of the things they like to leave out, and that's some of the things that I'm gonna probably share today about Rwanda. So with
Thank
that
you.
being said, go ahead.
I'm gonna start off with some easy questions about background about yourself. Can
Hmm.
you please say your full name?
My name is Tyron Tremaine Sutton.
Where were you born?
I was born in Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, South. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Southern boy to the heart, through and through.
When were you born?
July 3rd, 1976.
That makes you how old?
You trying to get me to say my age over the airs, but I don't care because I look pretty young. 46.
Okay, 46. My first question for you:
Mm-hmm.
what was the Rwanda genocide? Because when you proposed this event, I was like, I had no idea this existed.
Mm.
I searched it up. It was the first thing that showed up, but I was like, I've never heard of it. So, can you please explain what that is?
Well, the Rwanda genocide, and it's very complicated, right? Um, it was three tribes that was involved, but and it was one tribe that was trying to eradicate another tribe out of Rwanda. The reasons being is because, as usual, and we'll probably get more into that once you ask questions, is at that time, slavery, just like colonization, they colonized that area in Africa, the Belgians and the French, and they took one particular tribe group and kind of made them like, you guys are better than everybody else, and it created a lot of resentment throughout the country, like to the point where one particular tribe would use another tribe as like spittles, like they spit, they spit
Oh,
in their mouth, yeah,
wow.
spittles. So it was very, and the funny thing is that they were the same people. They just had different tribe. They was just, but they, in terms of looks, in terms of where they from, very same people. But when you get a group of people that want to separate you, and that's what the French and the Belgian did, they separated them and made them one group feel more inferior. So, in a nutshell, the genocide in Rwanda is just as the name said. They was killing thousands and upon thousands. They had to evacuate the whole area because so many people were getting murdered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you say that's similar to this book? I read this book in last year. It's called Things Fall Apart. The events of that book, do you think it's similar to the Rwanda genocide?
Very similar. That's one of my. I love that author, and the book that you're referring to, Things Fall Apart. I forgot his. Do you know the author's name? I cannot think his.
I think his last name starts like Akoba.
Chaka Akoba.
Yes.
And he was really talking about how colonization destroyed, because what it does is it put two people groups that are the same. They had been living in peace, but when Europeans at that time, and even now, I just put it out there, they would when they want a particular area, that's what they do. They want to put one against the other. So when I say you, I'm talking about when I say the day that I'm referring to in colonization is Europeans, because during that time in Africa, that's who colonized Europe. So that's a fact. That's history, right? So very similar.
Okay. When and how did you get involved?
Well, I was actually a young soldier, so I came in the military. I actually joined the military in '93 when I was in high school. Oh. And then after I graduated, I did my training. And in 1994, I went to my first duty station. So here I am, a young 18-year-old, and I guess this had kicked off, this particular conflict. Beknownst to me, I had no clue. They just, in the Army, they tell you to do something, you do it. So they volunteered me to go with a peace mission. We was attached or assigned. It was a UN mission for peacekeeping and I guess humanitarian, because our involvement wasn't supposed to be how it was previously. And I'd get into that more, but how I got involved, they just volunteered me like, hey, we need you to go. I was a medical guy. I'm 18 years old, and I just followed orders, and boom, there I am. My first, because I got to that area March of 1994, and I deployed April of right away, April of '94.
Was that your first deployment?
That was my first deployment.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been scary.
Honestly, no.
No,
I don't know what it was with me back then. But I just
you were fearless.
I was fearless. I don't know. You can't fear what you can't expect. I didn't have any expectations. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I didn't have any expectations, so I didn't fear. And I didn't start getting expectation upon after that particular incident. After my follow-on deployments, I had expectation because it was based on like, okay, I'm gonna be doing this, what I'm gonna be doing. So I didn't know what to expect. So it was just me, 18 years old, going.
You may not know this answer, but when I was researching this genocide, all of my research showed like other countries got involved after the genocide. But to me, America seemed like they were there during. How did that happen?
I won't say we was during. Well, no, we were during, because the UN, United Nations, although United Nations is composed of every nation, most of every nation in the world. Excuse me. United States seemed to have a bigger influence. So that's why you see a lot of U.S. involvement, right? And plus, that year prior, we just came out of Somalia. Oh. And that was a humanitarian, it was a very similar thing that was happening that I'm not going to get into it, but that we started, and it became a humanitarian mission. Then boom, it came up a full-blown conflict. Oh. Matter of fact, they made a movie on it. The Somalian, you should watch it. But so we always kind of stay in that area. Why we stay in Africa? Because Africa is the breadth of the bread box of the world. So we want their resources and all that. So, but that's why you see us, with a finger on the pulse of things, because our influence is great.
Thank you. That cleared things up. My research, I'm like, France got involved after the genocide, but then America was there the whole time.
Well, and that's the funny thing. So that's why I say when you're doing your research, they only going to show, like, France was always involved. France is one of the reasons that they started that. If France and Belgium would have came in and colonized and created that separatism, that being separate, it would never have got started. So the history book's only going to tell you the good stuff. They won't tell you the genesis of it and why. They're going to they did this particular tribe was just murdering and killing it, but they won't tell you the why. Was it wrong? Absolutely, but why did they do these things? So,
what did the U.S. military, do there while there?
Well, honestly, only thing that we did, we was there to provide support to transport them for evacuation. So, there's got this movie, you can watch it. It's called Rwanda, like Hotel Rwanda. And when you look at the Hotel Rwanda, like, you see U.S. troops transporting people out of these. I was part of that. So for me, my particular mission was I was a medical. So I was working with a medical team and we provided aid. That's what I was doing particularly.
Where did those immigrants go?
Oh, went all over the world. Oh. Like to this day, you got, Rwandans that are disbanded from their family. Because after that, that happened in 94. So they was taken all over the world. Different countries on the continent of Africa, or they was getting sent to Belgium, or they was getting sent to France. They was getting sent all over.
Would you say that Rwanda never recovered from this genocide?
I would say they still recovering. When you have and what I will say, I haven't been back there, but I've talked to a lot of people. I've made, I won't say friends, but contacts in that area, that they kind of let me know the pulse of how the tribes are doing. So they don't have that tribalism as much, but it's still there. But it's getting better. The economy is getting better and all that. But Rwanda as a whole, the country is still kind of at a brink of a civil war.
When you visited Africa, were you able to reconnect with some people that were there?
Well, I didn't reconnect with them when I went the last time. And that's funny that you say that. That's one of the reasons that I went to the continent. And I say the continent a lot. I don't like, because when you say Africa, most people don't realize that it is a continent. They look at it as a country. Africa, the country, they make it small. So I want to put emphasis on the continent, right? So when I went to different places that, unfortunately, that I was involved in with military operations. So yes, or conflicts. But I didn't get a chance to go back to Rwanda. But most of the contacts that I have out of Rwanda was people that I met when I was in school. So, and they was, good men and good women. And to this day, I don't call them or hit them up all the time, but from time to time, they hit me up.
Okay. Do you have any personal stories that you would like to share?
Personal stories. I probably would. You probably had to ask, but like I said, I was 18 years old, so honestly, it was like a blur. Like
it was so long ago.
Yeah, not that it was so long ago. It was like a blur. It was like I just remember being told I need to do this and I do this, but there was nothing significant that I was in a fire fade, or I remember seeing this tribe doing this. I didn't see or witness some of the tragedies. Did I see young men and young boys, women, and children with some gruesome injuries? Absolutely. But I won't say it seared into my mind like it's so memorable. And maybe because I've seen so much over the years, so I apologize.
Kind of just like,
yeah.
Don't worry. Did being so young affect you at all?
I don't think so. Well, let me take that back. I would at that time I probably wouldn't say so, but now, retired after 26 years in the military, and that's one of the reasons I went back to the continent. It did affect me. So I say I don't think so. When I look at it from a perspective, did it hold me back from anything? It didn't, but it affected me because in ways as I became a man, where I realized that these are men and women that look like me. And here we are just really, it did something to me to even though we was there for a humanitarian mission, we were direct influence, interrupting into that. We really disrupted them and made these transactions. So it affected me because it bothered me that our country would do so much, have so much involvement in that many tragedies, and so it made me question, why did I serve? Like, did my service go in vain and things of that nature?
Would you say that's like when you started shifting?
Oh yeah, shifting from my outlook on the military or outlook on the United States, like shifting from what perspective?
Like in our other podcast, you would say you were shifting personal, like your beliefs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I wouldn't say it was things I did in the continent. It was a combination of things. And once I started shifting, all of those things I started realizing, like, or looking back, like, man, I did this. Oh man, why did we do this? That's why my outlook on our involvement there is totally different. So if you ask me, and I just put it out there, how, memorable incidents that happened when I was 18, I was like, I don't remember, but memorable incidents that as I got older and I started realizing what I was involved in, it drastically affected me. So I remember the day, the time I was in Afghanistan, 2012, and everything that I had done, from doing stuff in Africa, from doing stuff in South America, doing stuff in Iraq or wherever I've been. I was like, man, we are not as good as we say we are.
It just kind of hits you.
Yeah, it did. And I'm a soldier. Some people, they stand up and salute the flag and all that, but they never seen a lick of combat. And even the ones that did see it, they would just stand on a forward operation base. They call it a FOB, eating ho-hos and dodos and not doing in the fight. I was in the fight. So I feel I'm unapologetic in what I'm saying, that we did some horrible things on the continent.
Did the genocide, did the genocide change your opinion on America, or has it always, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering.
No, it's fine.
Did the genocide affect your opinion on American involvement, or were you always questioning American involvement?
Well, then I was never questioning. I'm 18 years old and I'm a young soldier. I do as I told. I didn't start questioning our involvement in certain things until I got older. Yeah. See, the problem is, and that's the thing. And then most people my age that are still in, they won't question anything because our history books don't really, it sensationalize a lot of things that we do. But it doesn't peel back the onions on the why. They make everything that we do a righteous cause. But 9 times out of 10 is a capitalist and money cause. It's not really to help anybody. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think answer that question. Then, no. Now, absolutely, I was made me question our involvement in things that we did in Rwanda. Now, I will say this to keep it. I want to be balanced. I was briefed that our what we was going to do was humanitarian, and that's all we did. And I believe we helped people. But what bothers me is the reason why they got to that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you help people, but you still were the ones that kind of
Yeah, that's the thing that bothers me. Yes, we cleaned it up and we helped, but you made it dirty from the beginning. Thank you for cleaning it up. That's the least you can do. right?
Do you think what you're taught in school, because what you said, like you had like this rose-colored tint on America when you were younger. Do you think what you're taught in school affected that? Like you didn't see all the bad.
Oh, absolutely. I'm, and your teacher can, I looked at y'all curriculum. I studied all y'all curriculums. The curriculums in the United States, especially when it pertains to history, is about American sensationalism, or or the best part of it. It might dibble and dabble into some wise, but not. But when you really go back and peel back the onion, every major thing that happened in America from our conception to even now, you can probably hit a timeline that's always aligned to conflict. Always. That's and when I mean conflict, not just combat wars like the civil rights stuff, or the Native American movement, or when they say remember the Alamo, stuff like that. Like it was conflict. It was always conflict, right? And I think how we are taught in America, our curriculum when it comes to history, when we don't teach those important why, it allows our children. I was a best case for it. I was lost, and when I start getting and navigating in the world, I'm like thinking, you should be privileged that we happen, and then understand why they was upset. It makes us a very not empathetic to somebody else's reason why they don't want us there. So, and that's one of I think the biggest downfall of when you talk about American history, how it's been taught. Yeah. Oh yeah. Even within this country, you start talking about, even when you was reading about Rwanda, they start saying minorities and majority, right?
Yes.
Right. And you didn't hear me say that word, because I know that word is a conception that was created, and how now how they were using it was about numbers, right? But minority and majority and minority, how we use it here, has nothing to do with numbers. It has to do with power, right? Right, and that's pretty much what it was there. The Tutsis at the time, they didn't have the numbers,
but they had the power.
They had the power.
Thank you. This Rwanda genocide, do you think more people learning about it will improve America's views on themselves?
Absolutely. I believe that if that's one of the things that I wish that they can change our curriculum is, like I said, to know your history will erase the mystery. Don't hide it. And when you hide it, you have less ability to be empathetic or sympathetic to someone else reasons why they think how they think. Everything doesn't, because we're America doesn't mean how we do things is right. Period, point blank. Everybody got a reason why they do things. So I believe that's one of our biggest weaknesses, and it's going to be, unfortunately, I hope not. I want us to fix it. Hopefully classes like this and your teachers getting more involved help us, because I think that's going to be a downfall of ours. Because you're doomed to repeat your history all over again if you don't, and that's what we're doing. When you go back in our history, we just repeat. It's a repeat and wash. There's nothing
That hasn't happened before.
Yeah, it's just repeat and wash.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely gonna chew on that, because that made me think of so many things. I'm like, we could have, yeah.
Yeah. Once you know it and you really face it, and that's one of the things here in the United States that we don't want to face, like some of the things we did, good or bad. Well, now everything good we're gonna talk about. Everything bad, we always have a reason why we did it. You know what? It was manifest destiny. That's why we we went to the westward movement, had a woman coming up with the it was destined that we do this, right? Trail of Tears, people, talk about it, but they really don't understand the history that was a contract that they signed, that they were supposed to get this land, right? And they broke it. they broke the contract. It was a lot of things to understand why we got the Louisiana Purchase, and why even today, like Haiti, why Haiti. People don't realize in 2012 Haiti was paying reparations to France all the way to 2012 because they got their freedom.
Wow.
Think about that. That's crazy.
That is. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So 2012?
2012, and then they wonder why they in poverty, and they wonder why they got stuff going on. But that's a whole nother discussion for another time on my theories on the why it's that way. But yeah.
Thank you. I learned so much from this.
Well, good.
Like, even if I don't get an A on this, I hope I should get an A because I learned so much.
Well, that's good, because at the end of the day, this interviews like this, that's how I think history should be. Like, go talk to the people that was involved in it, like, and want to give you a bias and a non-biased opinion. That's why I gave you a non-biased. I'm like, we did some good things there. That was very non-biased. But I can also be non-biased, but the reason why we had to clean it up. You know what I'm saying? Is two things can be true and two things can be false. But that doesn't make it right or wrong.
Make sure to get that copyright for what you just said because that was very insightful.
What's that?
There could be two things that are truth and two that are wrong. Doesn't it?
You got. I be throwing out nuggets sometimes. I had no clue some of the things I say. So, but thank you for even, asking the questions, and I look forward to, doing more podcasts like this, and not just, you could ask me anything. I look like that's one of the reasons you and I started this podcast because get to know each other. Put my life, out there, and your life, out there, and my life is not ended, so it's, I still creating more memories. Might not be conflicts and war, but it's other things now, But until the next time.
This is the Triple D's or
Daddy-Daughter Discussion.